Welcome back, everyone. We're on the last segment today of hitting the hardcourt, and this is the heavyweight punch. This is the haymaker, or the hail mary, or the full court heave, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if I'm excited or terrified to ask this question because it's everything that you don't want to talk about when you're a sports fan, when you're watching sports, and for everyone else that just kind of sits in front of the TV and wonders which color is winning. This might be ultimately important because it's where we live at now. So
Exactly.
in years past, the tradition states, I don't know if it's tradition anymore. But when you win your one of the big four, you win your respective championship. You get invited to see the president. You get to talk to him, and then for some presidents they roast you. You shake hands, you get a tour, and then that's it. You move on. Some of it has some significance, some of it doesn't. And right now we have a new president, President Donald Trump, and it is getting close to playoff time for. Well, actually, it's just past the halfway point. We're about 2/3 of the way into the season with the All-Star game coming up, so it is getting close to playoff time. And if you have these teams of the Warriors or the Cavs winning the championship, um, there's going to be this discussion about who's going to visit the White House. And I'm not going to get into the situation of the people and the barometer towards the president in that discussion, because that is for a different type of podcast, and I don't think I have the political acumen or the wherewithal to do it. Fonz, you may be way better at this than I am, which would make you numero uno in all more sense of the word.
Mhm.
Um, but if you yourself were a player, championship team, you win the O'Brien, and then the call comes, hey, we're going to the White House late July. Are you going to Miami at that time, or are you going to Washington?
I mean, I feel like if I was a player, let's say I was Kevin Love and the Cavaliers won the championship this year, and LeBron said, "I'm not going. I wouldn't go." I feel like I would trust the leader of the team, the barometer of the team, the guy who has an opinion, because it'd be kind of weird if like the entire Cavs team showed up without LeBron, even though didn't Brady do that last time they won? Didn't he skip out on the whole thing?
There were two guys. I don't know why this only gets put on Brady. There was actually a linesman. I can't forget his name, but there was
Yeah,
a
but like,
offensive
who cares?
lineman.
Who cares about linesman? Come on.
Well, you care if you're the quarterback because that's the guy that's going to
Well,
protect
yeah,
you. but
but yeah,
in all
it's
sense of the word, yeah, as far as stardom and as far as exposure,
yeah.
yeah, no one really cares about that other guy that didn't show up. But yes, Tom Brady elected not to show up when Obama was in office. Now, eh, mm, yeah,
No, because
I
like
don't
we've seen the two, the favorites for the championship are the Cavs and the Warriors,
know.
and we've seen the leaders of those two teams,
Mm-hmm.
and one coach, Steve Kerr, speak out against the president.
Mm-hmm.
Just yesterday, Steph said, "Oh, he would," because the Under Armour CEO said that Trump is an asset for the country because he's business oriented, business minded, knows how to run a business.
And
Um,
Steph Curry came
but
out and then
yeah,
asked the
exactly.
same. He's like, you can take out the ET,
Yeah,
which
and
is
yeah, and LeBron, who we all know, both of them, but LeBron, I feel like is a little bit more has a little bit more exposure in this. Who's a very socially conscious guy. Um, he campaigned for Hillary in Ohio, right?
that's true.
And Steve Kerr spoke out against the Muslim ban. One of the most thoughtful people in the game, uh, and he had the whole thing about saying, as a son of somebody who is a victim of terrorism, I feel like doing this, aka the Muslim ban, is wrong. So I feel like, and the NBA in general is a very socially conscious league, and it is a league that's predominantly black. Um, so I feel like, and they, I feel like more players wouldn't go
What about
because
you?
they feel that if like I think if Chicago somehow magically won, I'm not sure that Wade would go.
I'm not sure that any player would go on
Yeah,
Chicago.
exactly.
I mean, let's just put this out there for anyone that hasn't realized it by now. The league is predominantly black.
Yeah,
Um, just as far as socially conscious issues are concerned, not political ones, but just socially conscious. I mean, love thy neighbor type stuff, civil liberties, etc. You're talking about a league who, if invited, the majority of them have come from neighborhoods where they have had laws which have worked against them. There's
yeah,
one issue.
exactly.
The representation itself of President Trump, what he represents, and the people who were gung ho for them and what they represent legally, um, are an antithesis to that these young men hold dear, men and women alike. I mean, we could talk about the WNBA as well. Um,
Exactly.
so that's one step. That's one part. The more major part is the fact that, and this is me speaking personally as a black male, African American, if you prefer that term. There is nothing, and I repeat, nothing that would it drive me more to skip this event than the fact that the president has said the things that he has said. And trust me, I mean, I know it's I don't just get my news from Facebook or CNN, or if you get your news from Breitbart or whatever, and whether it's just the internet, this is from me talking to folks on liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat supporters and those against Trump altogether. And overall, being a black male in this country has it, I'm sure that for a lot of players, it was difficult enough going to the White House when you still have a country that has not gotten 100% behind you as a person. Okay. And so you think, oh, the people only want to see me because I represent something that is monetized, something that is televised, and something that is dramatized by the media itself, which is the NBA in its entirety. So even if I were the 13th man on the bench, or LeBron James himself, if he wanted, whether I was Steph Curry, all the way down to the towel boy, I would not go. Nothing inviting about the White House to me as a black male.
Yeah, and like, yeah, the NBA has always been one of the more socially conscious leagues for most of its entire run. Um, and we don't see former, at least as far as I know, we haven't seen any former NBA player on Twitter. Um, not like when you have, what's his name, the Cleveland Browns running back.
Which one?
Uh, the legendary one. Name. This is such
Oh,
bad radio.
back in the day.
Uh, yeah, I mean, like, you have
I'll just
Ray Lewis. Well, like, screw it. Like, Ray Lewis, Jerry Rice. These are guys who have come out in support of Trump, and we haven't seen like I don't know. Michael Jordan hasn't said anything. Scottie Pippen hasn't said anything. John Stockton, Karl Malone, and these guys. I feel like because I feel like in an NBA locker room, since it's much smaller, you're much more united. You talk to each other more. In the NFL, it could be linemen in one area, wide receivers in another area, and there's a clear divide. And most skilled position players are black. Most linemen and quarterbacks are white. That dynamic could be shifting, but there's still this distinct. It could be like a locker room that's divided who come together to play the game, but still have different views. In the NBA, I feel like it's more, you Kyle Lowry, going back to our last segment, Kyle Lowry could talk to Jonas Valanciunas, who could talk to um, Norman Powell. You talk to the guy from 1 to 13. You talk to all the assistant coaches, um, and even though this came up a couple years ago that there was an issue that why aren't there more black coaches in the NBA? There are a lot more who they're appearing on be staff members. Former players are being staff members. Like look at Earl Watson, freshly retired, became
Mm-hmm.
now head coach. Kenny Atkinson, these are guys who grew up in the 90s and during a time and in the 80s, 90s, and during times when there was like social problems in the country, and they had to play through that. They had to play through. I mean, we had before the whole and like yeah, the NBA has always been a league where more or less like black people are welcome. Like the earliest, well, not the earliest NBA, but some of the earliest players that we think of are Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain. Both of them are black.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Russell's one of the most fantastic people the NBA has ever produced. Like he's a great human being. Um, and even though you have the bad seeds like a Barkley, like a Meta World Peace, who has changed. There's still more. I think there's still like guys who care about where they come from. Just like the whole Seattle connection, right? Where Jason Terry talked to Isaiah Thomas, to teach them correct things. And even though I think it came out a couple days ago that the NBA rookie program had this weird thing like how to treat women, which didn't put them in a great light. Um, I still feel like in terms of race issues, the NBA is one that will forever be a place that we should look towards when it comes to like inclusion and being fair to everyone, giving everybody a chance. Like it like it's a league where you have Luol Deng and Tom Naker, guys who are who come from like Luol Deng is a refugee,
From
right? He's on your team, like he's a refugee.
yeah.
Like he is a guy who took the opportunity to be an NBA player and did fantastically. Like he's once again, a great representation of what the league has become and is. And it's like that from your bit part guys all the way through to LeBron.
I think one of the biggest so there could be a small argument to be made about opportunity, which is, hey, you're not really going to have the chance to do this. You're going to be able to stand with the president, shake his hand, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to be on cloud nine. You may not get this chance again. You may be traded. All these things that could happen. And I don't want anyone to think that this is simply me saying, oh, the president is white. He said some racial things. I'm black. I don't like it. No. Also not about me saying, hey, I have to stand with my people in fear of being ostracized or or I'm doing this out of fear of retribution against me as a person or player or my image. No, this is simply on principle. So everyone in the entire country, I believe, especially those that voted for Trump, not just Trump supporters, they may have thought, hey, we're going to vote for Jeb Bush, say, but they didn't vote, but the Jeb Bush didn't get it. And so they decided, all right, we're going to stick with our party and we're going to vote for whoever is our candidate. And they stuck with him simply on principle, because they want to see certain things that they have going on in their life be conserved, which is essentially what it means to be conservative. You have to kind of like hold back on many changes, which may be a detriment to the things that go against what you believe in. And that if that is the case, then I too would be a man of principle. And if my leader, whether it be on the court with LeBron James, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, whoever, or it's the leader of the free world, I have principles. And if you don't carry those principles as well, I can't come to the barbecue next Saturday. I'm sorry, hey, it was good talking to you at the bar, but your head case, I ain't showing up for another family dinner because your mama crazy. Okay. I just can't deal with that anymore. That's where I stand. And it's all about principles. There's certain people that I involve myself with in life that you have shown yourself not to agree with on a principle matter, have gone out of your way to demean them and create opportunity for yourself, which detriments them in a wholehearted sense. And that is the right thing to do. So on principle, being against that, I have to say, you know what, we're not going to your wedding. Straight up. I feel sorry for the girl that's getting married to you. I feel sorry for all the people that are going to come because your taste in food sucks. And I hope that you die in a fire and she gets all the money and she goes off and marries some guy and moves to a tropical island. That's what I think. That's how I really feel about the situation. And so that's why I say, with everything aside, with the NBA being socially conscious, with their idea of inclusivism, and that goes also with hearing like two sides of the conversation, like being able to sit down and talk to someone who's the leader of your country and say, you know what, you have influence too, especially as an NBA player. You have lots of influence because influence comes with having money. If you have money, you invest in the right companies, you can get more money. You have a lot more political acumen and political influence because you're basically putting into the hands that are going to be moving the country and in some sort of ways dictating what the president is going to do. But that's for another conversation entirely. But it doesn't change the fact that I will always have the opportunity to meet a president. I just got to go to a rally. I just got to wait until he comes and speaks at a university. I'll go buy a ticket. I'll go say hi or wave hi. Maybe he'll come by and shake some babies and kiss some hands, or maybe I got that backwards. But
just gotta shake some babies.
Just because I'm an NBA player doesn't mean that is my only opportunity to meet someone who you think is important to me. And if everyone thought it was equally as important to go out and meet the president, anyway, that's where I sit on the situation.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're in agreement, obviously, and I feel like most people would agree with it. Like, NBA is the most fun league. And it's also, a league where things matter.
Yeah.
It's not just about the game, the players who really care about their communities and not saying that players in other sports don't. But in the NBA, I feel like it really is about, like being part of the NBA family. And, like people, Kevin Love today was, shouted out Jabari Parker and Zach LaVine about, tearing their ACLs. I feel
Yeah.
like in the NBA, if, I don't know, David Johnson of the Cardinals tore his ACL, I don't think, um, Antonio Brown would say, shout out to David Johnson, hope for a speedy recovery.
I mean,
The
maybe,
NBA is a
maybe it might
much
not even.
smaller, yeah, it's a much smaller community of people, and
Which is also true. I mean, you got a team of
yeah,
52 guys on the NFL versus what,
exactly,
13, maybe 14, and some practice squad players.
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
they don't. I feel like they really care for one another, and as they should, because it's a league where they come from very similar backgrounds, and everybody's hoping for a chance to be part of a championship team, but also to be, they're achieving their dream,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody just wants to like pat each other in the back, and despite the hate that occasionally pops up, the heated arguments and whatever, everybody should like, Steve Kerr was when on the Bill Simmons podcast, he was like, I love Porzingis. You know, they they just like enjoy the game of basketball, and yeah, it's the best league.
So I guess we could just leave it right there for now. And we'll let the rest of you decide because I know that you're all talking about this right now because there are. I mean, we just had the Patriots win the championship. To cross over just real quick, and we have players that are opting to sit out on meeting the president. So we know who's not going. But what about you? Would you decide to go with the team and meet with the president? Or would you join Fonz and I shirtless on a boat in Miami?
Plus, like, what are the chances that Trump would be like, I'm actually really good at basketball. I sink full court shots all the time. There's video of it.
It's really great.
It's
It's
really
really
great.
great. I mean, I make all the shots.
I make
It's
all the
totally
shots.
great.
I go. I am part of the 100, 100, 100 club.
Oh no. Oh, now we're gonna have to spend a whole nother hour just talking about what Trump the conversation. That'll probably be our next segment. We'll talk about that another time. And meanwhile,
Just be like,
again,
you're not the Greek freak, Antetokounmpo. I'm the American freak. I'm the better freak.
we're gonna have to get out of here. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And again, you can check me out on Twitter at for the number 4 letter F Apollo, like Greek god of the sun. And you can catch Fonz on the East Coast between the hours of Frosty Bitness. And where else can we catch you at, Fonz?
I mean, on Twitter, I guess, if you want to follow me. I never tweet anything. It's mostly to see all the NBA news. Um, yeah, like I'm way more active on Slack. But if more people follow me, maybe I'll try it.
Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, this is Josh, your host. Thanks again, and we will be back next Tuesday for another two-parter little halftime action of Hitting the Hardcourt.